This is Pukeology Podcast, where science meets your hilarious puke stories and the tips and tricks to stop that up-chuckle that you need.
You never know what's going to spew out of her mouth. Here's
my mama,
Dr. Puke Nemo.
If you're a first-time mama or even seasoned at giving birth, I hate to tell you that it's about their birthday, not yours. But the more educated that you are on what are your non-negotiables during the birthing process is key to helping you have an incredible birthing experience. Come on, let's make the perfect birth plan template together with yours truly, your favorite pregnancy doctor. All coming up in today's Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 78, Birth Plans for First-Time Moms, and seconds too. Want no more morning sickness, pregnancy nausea, or how about no more headaches or migraines? Visit our sponsor, nomonausea.com, the only natural way to instantly stop your worst nausea, vomiting, or headaches now, and get 25% off with the code PUKE25. That's PUKE25. Or you can place your No More Nausea band on your baby registry for your delivery room bag at Bye Bye Baby, or get it shipped for free in just 2 days as an Amazon Prime vendor, where you can also find things for your little ones, including No More Nausea Kids, No More Sleepless Nights Kids, and No More Sleepless Nights Kids actually works with moms too that have small wrists. They're all now available at your local Walmart stores, so go pick up one today. Now, do you want to hear some pregnancy humor that may just make you want to pee your pants? Like you don't have to pee all the time anyway, with hilarious stories like hip bones connected to my Rice Krispie, snap, crackle, pop, and miracle baby blowout. If you want to learn more about your pregnancy, humor and knowledge is the key to help you survive these 9 months. And just know we're in this together. Today, you will learn the science behind what does a birth plan look like, birth plan templates that are made for different moms. Remember, different strokes for different folks, and what are your must-haves for your birthing plan. Trust me, I've seen it all as a pregnancy doctor, but a birth plan is absolutely needed. Let's make one together in today's Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 78, Birth Plans for First-Time Moms.
The science of puke, pukeology.
So what is a birth plan? Well, every mom-to-be is always looking forward to the day that they get to give birth to that beautiful bouncing baby. And having like an idea of where you want to go during this amazing time and to prepare is always very amazing. So I will tell you, as a person who's a chronic planner, they call me the planner or the calendar master. I myself am very accustomed to planning absolutely everything. But on the actual birthday and or your child's delivery, sometimes it doesn't always go to plan. So it's important for you to understand what are things that are considered your non-negotiables and what are things that you just kind of have to go to the flow with. So what is a birth plan? A birth plan is your record of things that you desire to be done when you are giving birth. A birth plan can help you select what to happen and what to avoid during labor, delivery, and even post-delivery or the postpartum period of time. So your birth should include anything and everything that has to do about labor and delivery. And it's your preferences. Notice that I said your preferences. It's kind of like the difference between your must-haves and your wants. But you put them all in there so that you know which of these items that you're able to kind of bend and change and move as needed during that special day. When preparing a birth plan, make it as personal as possible. Include everything that you prefer or your preferences based on your medical history, your available services at your delivery facility, and your pregnancy situation. So most of you are probably wondering, why should I write a birth plan? Well, I'll be honest with you. The very first one, I didn't write a birth plan. I probably should have, but I didn't. And the reason why is because you don't know what you don't know. So if you're a mom that's listening to this and you have a best friend or a sister or a sister-in-law or somebody else who's pregnant, you may want them to take a listen to it. So again, remind them to take a listen to this birth plan planner that's done by an actual doctor to make sure that everything that you want is on there. Okay, so it's not a must-have, right? A birth plan is something that it's a preference. Some of us are just naturally gifted planners. However, having a birth plan can help you have the very best delivery and postpartum experience. It's recommended that you talk with your OBGYN, your midwife, and or a doula to actually help you to write a birth plan because they have experience. They have more experience in this little pinky than you do, even if this is baby number 5, 6, 7, because they've gone through millions of births when it comes to their education together. So they're very experienced in helping you to understand what happens during the labor and delivery guide. They also will help to guide you to select your best maternity facilities that are available according to your wishes. And I say birthing facilities because it might not be a hospital. You might want to have a birthing center. You may want a home birth. These are all different questions that we kind of need to start to ask you and ask yourself whenever you're preparing this document. Now, if you're about to embark on this with me, I suggest that you have a pen and paper, but go to nomonaja.com/blogs and you'll take a look at which blog. This blog it's called Easy Birth Plan Worksheet, and it'll kind of go through what are the things to help you. Checklists, it's actually on there as a birthing plan checklist, but also it's really important that you expand this birth plan. So this is just kind of like a simplistic template. So don't worry if I talk too fast. You can always kind of go back and take a look thereafter. So what should you include in your birth plan? Now, every woman has a different experience during the labor and delivery process. Therefore, the birth plan checklist can help you and make you aware of your possibilities while giving birth. You might not even know the things that are available to you. But here are a few things that you want to include when preparing your birth plan. All right. The first thing is you need to talk to your facility. You need to actually go what we call in anesthesia a pre-induction evaluation, meaning before you have your vaginal delivery is scheduled for an induction, you go in spontaneous labor or you go in for a scheduled C-section. Some of you, like myself, will end up having an emergency C-section, and that's something else that I'll kind of talk about thereafter because that's something you can't exactly plan for. But the facility, you need to make sure that they have what you want. And by that, I mean, some of you will choose to have a water birth. Did you know that you can actually have hospitals that have a water birth as an option? Well, find out if you have one. If you're in the middle of nowhere, then you might not have that option because they might just have standard beds. And then you may want to take a look into other birthing facilities, and or you may want to take a look into having a home birth with a guided nurse wife and or a doula, things of that nature when it comes to birthing. The facility can also include not just a hospital, but your home, a birthing center. And also they have these hybrid models that I personally would recommend that you go and take a look at them. Just because of the fact you go to a birthing center or you go to a hospital, see what feels comfortable. You may actually have a choice, and make sure your OBGYN, your doctor, and or if it's a family practice physician that delivers babies in a rural area, make sure they have privileges at that hospital. I say that because you might really like the hospital, but if your OB doesn't go there, well then they will not be the ones delivering the baby, and your comfort level with the person delivering your baby or the group of people delivering your baby is far exceeds the actual facility. So just kind of my 2 cents thrown in there. Now, studies have shown that 9 in 10 women give birth at a hospital. So 90% of people will. Therefore, we do recommend that you give a birth plan and that you have a birth plan available ready to go when you do show up at the hospital. Make sure that you select a hospital that is spacious, right? So that has a birth room big enough for you, your husband, and or a family member, and find out what's their policy. How many people do they allow you to have? Is it one at a time? Is it one person who has the ban is allowed to take one or two family members to go see the baby? All of these things matter. Now, if you're a person who doesn't have family nearby, then you don't have to worry about that, because it's only going to be you, your significant other, you and your mom, or whoever it is that's actually coming there with you. Make sure that you look at not just the actual birthing rooms. And by that, I actually mean labor and delivery floor. You also take a look at mother baby. So mother baby is where you're going to be staying a vast majority of the time. The birthing suite, you might be there for 12 up to 24 hours at max is kind of really they'll kind of try to push you out. But the mother baby suites is something that you're going to spend 2, maybe even 3 days for. If you're a mom who's unfortunately been on bed rest, you actually might be on the labor and delivery floor so that they can take a look at you. Another thing is find out their triage. Okay. All triages in hospitals are open 24/7, but where do you think the triage goes to? It bleeds right into the actual labor and delivery floor, so that you know that if you are going in as an emergency, or you are going in because you're having a complication, you will more than likely deliver at the hospital that you go into triage. So keep all those things in mind. Birthing centers are also good places to give birth, particularly when you have a low risk pregnancy. You are young, healthy, have no other prior complications, no issues with your actual pregnancy itself, and you don't have any health complications prior to your pregnancy. Now, the maternity centers have qualified and certified nurses, and these are called nurse midwives, that can help you during your delivery and the delivery room of your baby. Birthing centers are also associated with hospitals. Find out which hospital they're associated with you in order to have a quickly organized transport to the hospital in case of a serious complication or something that needs to be done. You also need to make sure that you think about who you want your pediatrician to be. This is something that, believe it or not, even as a doctor, I did not think about. I didn't think about who my pediatrician for my baby was going to be when I showed up to the hospital. So lucky enough, one of my friends, she is a nurse on the OB floor, and literally said, "Hey, who's your pediatrician?" And I said, "I don't know." And she was the one who actually gave me a referral to her pediatrician. And I have loved my pediatrician for both my kids thereafter. And so it's not just the pediatrician of our kids, but also of friends and family. And I always give them the same pediatrician advice. So giving birth at home is another alternative, but you must be in best health. And again, I say that once again, where it's very low complication, low risk is associated. And again, the health of the baby as well as the health of the mother has a very low risk. Now, this may not be an option if it's your first pregnancy, but again, it might be, right? So as long as you're being seen, you have good prenatal care, and you desire a home birth, make sure that you go and get a certified nurse or a physician who will come into your home and actually administer the birth to make sure that there is someone there that is experienced, that is educated in that realm, because you definitely don't want like quoting an old movie favorite, "I don't know nothing about birthing no babies," right? You definitely don't want a Gone with the Wind type of situation. And ladies, this has been done for hundreds and thousands of years. So we have been having babies at home. Hospitals did come around, but again, you have to remember that this is something that your body is ready to go through, right? So that you hear of all of these incredible people and heroic heroes delivering babies in cars and or husbands, right? Or mothers. The most important thing that you have to remember is you want to make sure that you and the baby get to the place that you want to deliver before that it happens, all right? So also make sure that you have an organized emergency transport for different complications. I'm not going to say that every single delivery goes smoothly, because it doesn't, but complications do occur. They occur during labor, they occur during delivery, and they even occur post-delivery. So FYI, I just want to kind of throw that out there. So the people, let's talk about people. Who do you want to be present when you're giving birth? So labor and delivery can be exhausting. Thus, like failing to decline who visits you in the birthing room, or if you want people to be there. Do you want a whole spectator sport, or do you only want it to be something intimate between you and one other person? And make sure that you also put on there, not just whatever time that, when you want these people, but let them know ahead of time so that if they are visiting you during your laboring process, you can kindly say, okay, it's time for us to give birth. Now it's your exit cue. So specify who you want as your birth partner. You may include your spouse, friends, and family members. Some of the delivery facilities may limit the number of people, especially during COVID, during this period of time, COVID-19 that we're in. A lot of places have not reopened. Some of the places do, just the husband has to be, partner has to be masked and, inside of a bunny suit. Others are just not allowing anybody else. Again, check with your facility to figure out, and check with your state in what those hospital policies are. So remember to ask if there's limitations. The other things that you may want to include in your birth plan, the position that you prefer to use during labor, the pain medication that you're okay with during labor. So where do you want it to progress? Type of music, right? Movies that you want to bring. Labor does not happen immediately. I went through four movies. Okay, guys. So again, sometimes having your form of entertainment solid and ready to go is a great idea. How would you like the placenta to be delivered? Okay. And note that after the baby, the placenta is delivered. So the placenta is what was giving the nutrients to the actual baby. But again, what do you want to have happen to it? It is a part of your body, and they will make you sign something for disposal if that's what most of you will choose. I've heard a bunch of other things, and I'm not going to start to comment on it because I do not want emails from one side or the other about encapsulating it or doing anything crazy like that. All I can say is it's your body. It is your excrements. You choose what you would like to do with them. Another question, how do you want your baby to be fed after giving birth? Do you want to try to breastfeed? Do you want skin-to-skin contact the second that the baby comes out? Do you want formula fed? Do you want a hybrid of both of them? These are all things. Remember that if you are delivering in a hospital setting, a lactation consultant is your best friend. Breastfeeding is the most unnatural, natural thing that I have ever personally done. You can explain to someone all day long of how to breastfeed, but it's not until you try to get this little beautiful baby shark to latch on that you'll be able to kind of talk through it and get yourself comfortable and relaxed and things of that nature. So if you're looking for some incredible breastfeeding tips, I would highly recommend stop this episode and go to episode 38. It's called Breastfeeding Tips. And trust me, they're amazing. We'll talk about different positions that are great for the baby, but also what are ways that you can get your milk to really come down. And that colostrum, or what we call like that golden beautiful sauce that your breasts produce, that has the highest amounts of nutrients. So just because your milk is not squirting out like a super soaker Nerf gun, doesn't mean that your baby is not being fed. Remember, babies don't need that much when they first come out. All right. And then also, would you like to consider any special requirements while giving birth, such as any type of religious customs? Okay. If you are choosing, or if you're having a cesarean delivery, okay, these are some other items to kind of think about. Taking a camera and having someone take pictures in the operating room. Okay, in the operating room, that's important, right? Who is going to be that person that's going to go in there with you? Requesting for the screen so that you can actually watch the delivery process. Some will allow it, others won't. You will have a nice big blue drape, meaning the sterility, or keeping the sterility for it. So again, if there's not something to the side which allows you to see, you also don't want your significant other to pass out. I've caught a few people in my day. So again, remember that if you do choose someone who is quite squeamish, they may go down, and you don't want to have to worry about a brand new baby, yourself and them. Who, for cord clamping, right? Who's going to end up cutting the cord? And then for skin to skin contact, as soon as you do have that baby, some facilities will allow you to put the baby right up on top of you as soon as the baby is born, especially if you plan on breastfeeding. Others will take the baby, whisk it away right after, and make sure that it gets different vital signs. All right, so what we're going to do now is a really fun round robin of the Easy Birth Plan worksheet. All right, so let's talk about labor onset. Here we go. 3 main keys: spontaneous, alternative induction, which includes acupuncture, chiropractic, nipple stimulation, sexual stimulation. Yes, sex is a great way to increase the amount of oxytocin, and also called Pitocin. When you go to the hospital, it's a form of oxytocin. It's the exact same thing, really helping to squeeze down that uterus to get the birthing started, and or there's different herbs and essential oils. I will tell you, for alternative inductions, again, please consult your OBGYN. Number 3, medical inductions, okay? Membrane stretch, also known as a sweep, Foley bulb, also Cytotec and Cervidil. It's like a prostaglandin gel that they put up there, and it helps to like soften the cervix, right? Make it less and less. Pitocin, or artificial rupture of membranes, where they literally pop that bag, right? So again, how are you being induced? I will tell you that regardless of which way your labor onset, your bag of water has to be popped. If you do it, I would suggest getting puppy training pads for when you're getting close. I delivered both of mine at 37 weeks, but I used to sit on top of a puppy training pad in my car, because the last thing in the world that you want to do is break your water in your car, especially if it's a brand new car. And if you don't have leather seats, good luck trying to get it out. That baby will stay with you forever and ever. All right, number 2, clothing. Okay, bring your own clothing. Make sure you have something for the postpartum period of time. And no, ladies, you will not fit back into your pre-pregnancy clothes when the baby is out. You will still be very swollen. So I highly encourage something loose. And if you are going to breastfeed, something that's an easy boob pop out. Urine relief, okay? So are you planning on walking to the bathroom? Now, when you have an epidural, you will no longer be able to do that. So again, you will have to have a catheter placed, or a bedpan, okay? If the labor is just feeling so bad that you just can't walk around, then you might have to choose that option. Food and drinks. Okay, so let me just put on my little anesthesia hat here. Nothing to eat or drink if you are going to have a scheduled C-section. And the reason why is because the number 1 problem or number 1 side effect is nausea and vomiting. And that's actually 80-something% of people, whether it's vaginal delivery or not. You have an increased risk of aspiration. Aspiration means food inside of the lungs. Have you ever basically inhaled it and went down the wrong pipe? That's what we're talking about, okay? So you will be allowed to have clear liquids and or ice chips if you are under a regular vaginal delivery and you are having induction. So ice chips are the way to go. Remember, if you are drinking red or blue Gatorade, the first thing that will come up is vomiting red or blue Gatorade. So I just want to throw that out there. Sometimes colorless items are probably the best. And or whenever you get to the hospital, they will put in an IV, okay? They will give you fluids through your venous system, so your blood. But at the same time, maybe something to consider is some honey sticks, okay? Some snacks are things that are like popsicles or something that's easy, that's considered a clear liquid. And make sure that you do have ice chips by the bed. Monitoring, okay? You will be monitored, the baby will be monitored, and then you need to make sure that you're comfortable with that. It's going to happen. So if you do not want monitors and wires, then don't deliver at a hospital as long as that you are healthy. Vaginal exams, these are something that is requested and that will have to happen while you're having your delivery processed in order to figure out how many centimeters dilated that you are. Same thing even if you're delivering at home, to give a kind of an idea of when the baby is going to get there. All right, comfort measures. We talked about this. A doula support, heat and cold, water, a shower, a tub, compression, massage. Okay, a tennis ball works great. Aromatherapy, lighting, music, relaxation techniques, breathing, visualization, giving a focal point, or just having these like positive birth, hypnobirthing is what it's called. That was what the word is. Vocalization, same thing for comfort measures. What do you plan? How do you plan on self-soothing yourself? Medical pain relief. Okay, TENS units, kind of that thing that people are using for back pain relief, sterile water injections, and epidural. Okay, an epidural is something that you have to have an anesthesia expert that goes in places, but it can give you pain relief right at the source, and or narcotics. Narcotics are pain medications that go through your vascular system. Now remember, when it comes to your vascular system, the baby is also feeding off of that. Epidural actually has less amount of medication that's getting to the baby, but once again, it is a traumatic type of experience. So I personally think that I had an epidural and it was wonderful. I had a spinal with my C-section, and I will highly, highly, highly recommend, if you're a person that does not do well with pain, don't ask for it at the very end. Okay, get it when you are comfortable and feeling the contractions, especially if they put you on Pitocin. Ask for it early because in anesthesia it can get really busy. All right, different labor positions: walking, lunges, sitting, right? We call it the reverse cat, right? Lying on the side using a peanut ball, standing, forward leaning, almost like a slow dancing. You can be on your hands and knees, the cat-cow position, squatting. Now, how do you augment labor? How do you get labor to really get moving, right? Change positions, the rupture of membranes like we talked about, artificial Pitocin that's being given inside of your veins, nipple stimulation, okay? Birthing positions. How do you want, or where do you want to be when you birth? Okay, are you going to be inside of a birthing tub? Do you want to be semi-sitting? Are you going to have your legs up in stirrups? If you have an epidural, you cannot do standing squatting. Instead, you will have to be in a supine or laying down, or on one side or the other. Remember, don't lay flat on your back, FYI. Okay, same thing when it comes to pushing. Do you want to be coached? Okay. Do you want the provider to be directing you? Do you want unlimited time to push? Or is it like, hey, after 2 hours, that's it, I'm done, right? Do you want to see what's happening? And a lot of times with women with epidurals, I do recommend a mirror. I know people are like, I don't want to see that, but believe it or not, you do. Your muscles, you can't really feel your muscles as well. You can still move your legs, but you can't really feel. So sometimes it's nice to look at or visualize what you want your muscles vaginally to do, and then really focus in on them. Perineal care, okay? Warm compresses, oil, massage it, Again, tearing does happen, right? Or do you prefer an episiotomy? You want just one cut and slit? I will tell you right now, my OB was amazing. She just massaged me back and forth, and I didn't have any tears at all. So who do you want to receive the baby? Okay, do you want to reach down there and grab that baby? Do you want your partner to grab the baby? Is that something for your doctor or medical care provider, or your support person? Umbilical cord, okay? Immediate cord clamping. Do you want delayed cord clamping? Do you want the baby to be connected to it there's various studies on various items. In the hospitals, we usually immediately cord clamp and then cut. Okay, and then who do you want to cut the cord? Okay, do you want a lotus birth? Do you want cord blood banking? If that's the case, you need to make sure that you take steps in that direction ahead of time. And then the placenta, we kind of talked about this before. Do you want it to happen birth without assistance? Do you want traction and pressure to get that sucker out there? Remember, we do have to get the placenta out, and you don't want any retained placental parts, just letting you know. Baby care. Last two, I promise. Baby care. Do you want the baby to come up and immediately have a skin to skin? If you're breastfeeding, this is highly recommended by ACOG. Taking the baby to a warming station, suctioning of the baby's airways, giving the baby different procedures right then and there. Erythromycin, which is eye ointment, vitamin K injections, Hep B vaccine, wiping and bathing the baby, rub the vernix in, and then breastfeeding, again, artificial nipples, pacifiers, bottles, formula feeding. These are all things about the baby that are going to be talked about. Now, the baby cannot leave the hospital without having a vision, an auditory test, as well as other tests to make sure that the baby does not have PKU and other type of phenylalanine and or amino acid deficiencies where they're unable to process them. Because imagine you giving your baby some formula and the formula could potentially cause more harm than you giving the actual breast milk itself. Last but certainly not least, a cesarean birth. And sometimes these birthing plans turn to cesarean birth. So listen up, ladies. And if you're like, it's never going to be me, I thought the same thing. And guess what happened? It was me, and it was a true emergency, and I'm very blessed that it all turned out really well, but things happen, okay? And remember, we've got to get the baby out somehow, some way, and when after your membranes rupture or after your water breaks, you have 24 hours, because if not, you can actually have an increased amount or chance, I should say, of getting infection. You don't want that. That's why we keep monitoring the mom's temperature. We monitor the baby's heart rate and the mother's heart rate to see if any of those things. So let's take a listen to real quick the cesarean birth. Okay, the partner. Do you want your partner present at all times? Do you want your doula present? Or if your partner leaves, do you want your doula to stay with you or vice versa? All right, do you want an epidural? Again, a spinal block, which the difference between the two, and I need to do a podcast on this, but the actual epidural itself is usually for continuous labor. Why? Because we can keep injecting. We literally put a plastic catheter or a plastic little cord where we can keep injecting medications. The difference is when you have a spinal, okay, when you have a C-section, you want to be completely numbed out, and the epidural space surrounds the spinal, meaning we give a higher concentration in the epidural space so that some of it leaks into the spinal space to get your desired effect, versus we take a smaller needle and we go right into the exact spot. We get to see the pullback of cerebral spinal fluid, and boom, we give a small amount of medication to that direct area, which will make you completely numb and be painless and not be able to move your feet or anything basically below your chest wall or nipple cavity. All right. General anesthesia, that's something else to be considered. If you have a contraindication, or meaning if you have some problems as to, your back, you've had multiple back surgeries and you've had fusions in all of your lumbars, well, we just can't get to your back, then we need to discuss a general anesthetic and have you go completely off to sleep. If you do go completely off to sleep, do you want your partner there? Yes or no? Okay. Do you want chatter? An operating room. That's where I lived for years and years and years, right? Meaning I was constantly working, and it's just like a regular workplace. We play music, we talk. Do you want that for when your baby comes into the world? Would you like to help to narrate the events? Again, would you like regular conversation? Do you want music? Do you want the drapes to come down? Do you want to watch the birth? Are you okay with photographs or videos? And make sure that you actually ask your hospital facility. Some facilities are saying that you're not allowed to take videos, FYI. Delayed cord clamping, if that's possible. Usually with a C-section, it's because of one reason or another, and they usually won't. They usually have a systematic way that once the baby's born, the cord is clamped, and then boom, the baby is placed up on top on the skin if you would like, and or taken to the warming station. Immediate skin to skin. Baby is taken out of the OR after you get to see the baby, or if the baby's just not doing as well, it's immediately whisked away to NICU. Sending different microbes, okay? Routine suctioning of the airway and breastfeeding in the OR. These are all things that may or may not. You have to find out what is your policy. But now that you've kind of got an idea of what it is about these birthing plans, let's go into some hilarious stories because I think sometimes we all need a good laugh.
On a Tuesday? One puke story.
My hip bone's connected to I was in a car crash and the airbag literally broke my hips, ouch, because my legs were crossed. And I was pregnant at the time. The pain was tremendous and I had to have a spinal, so I was awake while I was pregnant, as it was the safest way for me and the baby to deliver. I remember being at the head of the nice doctor when, as soon as I felt the medication in my back, I started uncontrollably vomiting. Ew. It was everywhere, and the worst part is that I was lying down. The funny part was when I told the surgeon to stop banging so I could puke in peace. Let's just say giving birth was a breeze compared to that. Thanks, Sonia Slay. All right, I was at the chiropractor getting an adjustment, and clearly my hip opening hormones were in full effect as I was in my third trimester. Usually you get a few cracks here and there, but I heard one come out of my pelvis that was so loud and sounded so deep that I immediately started puking all over the fancy table. I decided to change chiropractors because I was so mortified. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I puked because of the sound. Pregnancy is so weird. Yes, Mama Mia 24. Thanks for that hilarious puke story. We have 4 beautiful children, and I got my tubes tied 2 years ago, or that's what I thought. I went in to finally fix my mom bod, get a little lipo here and tummy tuck there because I couldn't lose my mom kangaroo pooch. Well, they always take a pregnancy test prior to surgery, and guess what? I'm pregnant. I argued that they had the wrong pee, and I was so upset I literally started crying hysterically. I'm the blubbering type. Snot coming out of my nose and throat, which caused me to gag and then give up what I ate for dinner the night before. Guess my husband really did give me the high five. Thanks a lot, Lee, with a few H's at the end. Now, do you have a hilarious puke story that you just can't wait to share? Send it to me, Pukeology, Pukeology, at nomonausea.com. That's NOMONAUSEA.com. Or tweet me so we can all have a good laugh.
Tips and tricks to stop the up-chuckle that you need.
So let's talk about the postpartum workout plan. Oh yeah, we've got to, right? Labor and delivery causes so many changes to your body, and having a postpartum workout plan can help you get in shape again. Now, I'm sitting here talking to you guys about this, but I still haven't lost my baby weight, and yes, my baby is 8. However, the type of exercise guidelines will depend on the type of delivery and any complications that you may have experienced. Here are the best postpartum exercise guidelines that can help you get back to your pre-pregnancy body. Let's talk about Kegel exercises, okay? This is also fun for the guys too because you will be in a hot and heavy mood. To find the right muscles, I want you to try to stop peeing midstream. Imagine your baby is crawling and you just got into cleaning the cabinets in the bathroom with hazardous materials. So all of a sudden your baby looks at the hazardous materials. You know the baby-proof drawer that your husband broke out of rage because he couldn't open it and said he was going to fix it? Oh yeah, that one. And you need to grab him or her before they put harsh chemicals in the mouth. You immediately stop peeing. Now that's your Kegel muscles, okay? So pick your favorite position with this exercise. Most women prefer lying on their back, but I personally do mine while I'm driving because I have nothing better to do, and I like to time it to the beat of the music. You probably are thinking, TMI, doc, TMI. But number 2, tightening your pelvic muscles or the pelvic floor muscles and squeezing your Kegels for 5 seconds and then relaxing for 5 seconds. Let's repeat step 2. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And relax it for 5. Now let's do that 5 times in a row. Just like any other muscle, you'll build up strength and the more and more that you do. Now, if you ever look up Kegel muscles on the internet, you will be shocked to find on YouTube, there are chicks that can hold up a surfboard. Yes, with just their Kegel muscles. I would not recommend it. And again, they do have different Kegel balls of different weights. So help to start by increasing the length of time from 5 seconds to 10 seconds and make sure that you're not tightening your thighs, your abs, or your butt. Only tighten and release your pelvic floor. Now, for the best results for vaginal workouts, you should repeat 3 sets a day of Kegels 5 to 10 times a day. You'll definitely see results in a few weeks, and your husband will appreciate it too, as it stimulates your sex drive. Diaphragmatic breathing, walking is another great one. Swiss ball and bird dog holds, cat cow and tabletops, Swiss ball glute bridges, postpartum planks, side plank leg lifts. Okay, you get the idea that we're talking about lots and lots of incredible ways to be able to do that. So instead of me going into each and every one, we do kind of have like a post-pregnancy, a great way to get your post-pregnancy body back. And if you want that, or if you're ready to go because you're actually listening to this while you're giving birth, definitely go over and take a look at a few of the other Pregnancy Pukeology podcasts that we have, because you'll notice that when we talk about it, there's a lot of podcasts that deal specifically with pregnancy exercise and giving birth. So again, check out Pregnancy Exercise episode 44, and also birthing hips 48, and how to get them back. So let's strengthen your vaginal muscles. Strengthening your pelvic floor muscles is the way to strengthening your vaginal wall. It's important to know that your pelvic muscles are part of your core that supports your bladder, your rectum, small intestines, and uterus. With age, or after childbirth, your pelvic floor can become a little bit leaning on the weaker side. Accidentally peeing yourself is a little example, feeling a constant need to pee, pelvic pain in the area, or experiencing pain during sex. Now, if this has ever happened to you, here are 4 amazing ways to help strengthen your pelvic floor. Okay, so pelvic tilt exercises. We already talked about Kegels, okay? But let's talk about pelvic tilt. So stand with your shoulders and butt up against the wall. Pull your belly button in towards your spine, flattening the back against the wall. For ladies who have big booties, hey, I totally get it. It's known as sway back, but it might be a little bit more or a little harder, okay, to touch the back of the wall. Get as close as you can. I speak from experience. I'm a Latina. Now tighten your belly button for 4 seconds and then release it. Perform these pelvic tilt exercises 10 times for up to 5 times a day. So we talked about Kegels. We also talked about pelvic floor exercises. And now that you kind of have a better understanding of what a birth plan is and how to kind of compensate for not just what are the things that you want to happen, because you are in control, but you have to remember that we have other people who are there to support you and guide you. And let's think about all of the different beautiful ways, regardless if it goes the way as your birth plan is on that paper or not. The big moral of the story is you will have a happy and healthy birthday for your beautiful child. Until next time, thanks again for joining me on episode 78, Birth Plans for First-Time Moms. I hope you loved Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast. Let me know. Give me 5-star ratings or hearts for likes, and don't forget to download this episode. But more importantly, share it with all your prego friends. Thanks again for listening to Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 78, Birth Plans for Moms. And thanks for creating your birth plan with me. See you next time.
Pukeology Podcast. Edutainment at its finest.